Sonic's Green Hills Adventures Season 3 Chapter 15, The Deal. The next day, Dr. Denman ordered her henchmen to bring Shadow to the lab. When they returned, Shadow was with them, in handcuffs, so he wouldn't get any IDs.
Good you're here. Boys, you can uncuff him now and you may go.
Dr. Denman said in delight. Then the men left.
So what is it you wanted me for?
Shadow asked nervously, for he hasn't experienced something like this since before Maria's death, and he never wanted to experience it ever again, so it's no wonder he was terrified.
Oh, nothing too big. I just need a blood sample so can analyze your DNA.
Shadow's point of view.
That's what was afraid she'd say. But thankfully I don't have a phobia-level fear of needles unlike Sonic. Fine, just get it over with. I said as I sat down in the chair she pointed me to. Then she put the small needle in my arm as gently as she could. Within seconds it was over. Then she put the sample into a device that would put the analytics on her computer. I watched as her face turned to shock before looking back at me in injured disbelief.
Why does this say you were genetically engineered?
Dr. Denman demanded hysterically. Because I am the ultimate life form and was created by a brilliant scientist on a space station known as Space Colony Ark. Any more questions? I screamed out, for it was the easiest way to talk about my past.
Well, I see there's a part of your DNA that the computer can't identify. So care to explain that?
Dr. Denman asked as she moved aside to let me see for myself. I had no explanation for it. This was as much of a shock to me as it was to her. Then I added in that she is an expert on cellular mutation. So if she was left dumbfounded, it means something. I have no idea. The only way to figure this out is to look for clues at his last location, which was the Space Colony Ark. I explained shakily, for I never wanted to go back there, but then I thought of an idea to make it easier. I can get us there, however. I never wanted to go back there. So can Sonic come with us for emotional support? I asked hopefully as the thought of her saying no went through my mind.
Very well, Shadow, follow me and we'll go get him.
Dr. Denman said as she started heading towards the door. A few minutes after we started walking, we arrived at a cell door. Once Dr. Denman unlocked it, I ran in so I could tell him myself. When I got in, I saw that he was swimming, so I dived in. Hey Sonic, I need your help with something, I said as I swam over to him.
Hey Shadow.
Sonic said as he met me halfway to hug me in tearful relief. After a minute he ended the hug.
So what's going on, Shadow?
Sonic, ask me in brotherly concern. We are taking Dr. Denman to a place of my past that I never wanted to return to. So please come with us for not only emotional support but also for brotherly support, I asked pleadingly.
Of course, but why does it interest Dr. Denman so much?
Sonic asked seriously as we swum back to the other side of the cell. Something in my DNA can't be explained by me nor her, and she's an expert on cellular mutation, so we need answers that might be in the place we're going to. It's a surprise for the fun of it because I know it will leave you speechless, I replied as Sonic dried us off.
Well, you boys be careful, okay?
Longclaw said before we could start walking back over to Dr. Denman. Then we hugged her lovingly. We promise, Godmother, I said as we ended the hug. Then we walked over to Dr. Denman. Okay, stand close to me, Dr. Denman, and we'll be there in a second. I said. I took Sonic's hand. Dr. Denman nodded and stood right next to me. Chaos control! I screamed and teleported away. The next thing we knew, we were in my birthplace, the Space Colony Ark.
But what is this place, bro?
Sonic asked as he looked out the window to see the most amazing view of Earth. I walked up next to him. This was mine and Maria's favorite spot in the entire Ark. Well, Soink, welcome to the place I was created in, the Space Colony Ark. You see, I was also created to carry a care for a 12-year-old human girl named Maria. She had to live up here for her lifelong and deadly illness didn't allow her to live on Earth. Then her grandfather, also known as the professor who created me, made me to do that. But test after test proved to be a failure. So that part of my purpose was forgotten, so I just kept Maria company. Up until that day, when the Gunsoliders raided the Ark and killed Maria right in front of Mummy just because she pulled the lever that would send the escape pod I was in down to Earth, so she was able to tell me her final words and wish before it was launched out of the Ark. I said as I finally broke down. Sonic immediately hugged me, and I cried uncontrollably. In fact, I could feel him trembling too. I looked up to see that he was crying too.
Oh, Shadow, I'm so sorry that happened. But what did she say?
Sonic said he did his best to try and soothe both of us. She wanted me to give the people on Earth a chance to be happy. I knew just how to that, by protecting them. Do you think she would be proud of me, Sonic? I told him as I was trying to wipe my tears away.
Yes, she would be. I know I am. And you want to know why? It's because you're the best big brother ever. And remember how we met.
Sonic replied with a huge smile on his muzzle. Boy, was that smile contagious. I'll never forget that. Thanks to it, we got out of gun headquarters as brothers, no less. I replied as I smiled too.
Sure, but I'm talking about how you tried everything you could to protect me from the horrors of the facility. Even when just soothing me from that nightmare.
Sonic explained as he hugged me again. I hugged him back before we turned back to the window as I saw wonder in Sonic's eyes and wagging tail. It's an incredible view, isn't it? I asked happily as I internally giggled at his adorable behavior.
Yeah, I've always wanted to this planet this way. Now I can check it off my bucket list.
Sonic said dreamily. Well, I teleported us to this spot specifically so I show you the best spot of the Ark. Me and Maria would stare at it for hours on and talking about what it would be like to live down there. We believed that once she was cured we go there together and make friends and make the world a better place by helping people in need. I said as I smiled at the memories.
Oh, that's beautiful, Shadow. I'm glad we got to do this together. I wish I could show you my birthplace, but I can't. Well, thanks to those power-hungry bad guys chasing me out.
Sonic said. He looked back at me. I know you do, but life isn't always fair, I guess, I said playfully to lighten the mood.
Touché, bro.
Sonic said as he playfully punched me in the shoulder, which made us both laugh. Then Dr. Denman cleared her throat and my focus returned as we walked back over to her.
So what are we looking for?
Dr. Denman asked curiously. We're looking for a journal that documents all the details about my creation. I believe it's the lab, so follow me, guys. I replied as I started walking down the hall. They were not too far behind me.
By the way, how did you get us here?
Dr. Denman asked seriously. Oh, it's a teleportation ability called Chaos Control. It's one of the abilities I was given when the professor was creating me. I replied easily. Finally, we made it to the lab. However, I was getting flashbacks to the constant testing and injections to try and get my body to carry the cure for Maria's illness.
Sonic's point of view.
I saw that Shadow froze up as tears fell down his face, and he started to tremble. I could already tell why, so I immediately hugged him. Hey, it's going to be okay. I'm here and I'll stand next to you the whole time. I said to comfort him and help him out of his frozen state. Shadow then shook his head quickly and looked at me with a relieved smile.
Thanks, Sonic, I needed that more than ever. Okay, let's find that journal. It has to be in one of the drawers in here somewhere.
Shadow said as we ran to each of the drawers to look for the journal. We immediately started looking for each of the drawers for the next 2 hours.
Shadow's point of view.
As we finished looking, I heard a familiar voice calling my name. But it's impossible.
Shadow.
The voice said again, and I knew I wasn't imagining it. Maria, I said shakily as I looked around the room for where her voice was coming from.
Shadow, what's wrong? You're shaking like a leaf.
Sonic said as he ran over to me. I heard Maria's voice calling to me, but I don't know how high nor where it's coming from. I said to reassure Sonic and just hoping he didn't think I was crazy.
Well, Shadow, just follow your instincts and you'll know.
Sonic said lovingly as he put a hand on my shoulder supportively. I simply nodded and listened more closely. It's definitely coming from her bedroom, I said nervously. I was about to head there when Sonic stopped me.
Wait, do you need me to come with you?
Sonic, asked out of concern, but of course. Just stay close to me. It's very easy to get lost in this huge place, Dr. Denman. I'm sure you will find the journal by the time we get back, I said seriously.
Of course, but no funny business. Got it?
Dr. Denman said in response. We nodded before dashing off. When we got there, I saw her. Spirit, of course, but still it was her. Maria, is it really you? I said, trembling as I slowly walked up to her, fearing that this was a vivid dream.
Yes, I just wanted to say goodbye, without me dying getting in the way.
Maria said and hugged me. I was able to hug her back as I quietly sobbed, but then I was somehow able to smile. I never really got the closure I needed for that day until now, I guess.
Also, look at what's on my bed. It's for you to remember me by. I did it just in case my illness killed me before you could find a way to cure me. I also was right to do so.
Maria said as I looked at what she put there. There were 2 plushes that looked like me, and her, and a picture of us. Oh, Maria, thank you so much. They're perfect, I said as I hugged her one last time.
You're very welcome, Shadow. And don't worry, I'll always be watching over you, all of you.
Maria said as she hugged me back. And I knew what she meant by all of us. I know, but I will still miss you. But I will be able to move on with my life instead of dwelling in the past, I said as we ended the hug. Then she walked over to Sonic.
Sonic's point of view.
I could see a girl with blonde hair, blue eyes, and was wearing a blue dress. She was also a little transparent, showing that she was a spirit. When I saw Shadow's reaction, I knew this was the girl who saved my brother that day, Maria. I waited for them to finish before saying anything, for I didn't want to ruin their moment. But then, she walked over to me.
It's nice to meet you, Sonic. I know Shadow told you about me. I just wanted to thank you for making Shadow happy since you met him. You set him up with the life I always wanted for him since I sent him to Earth.
You're welcome, Maria. Was the right thing to do, though I never saw it in that way before. So I'm glad I was able to do that for you, Shadow, I said as we ended the hug. Then she started to fade away.
Xander is Shadow and Sonic the Hedgehogs.
Maria said, and then she was gone. I looked at Shadow, who was silently crying but with a smile on his face. So I hugged him. Are you going to be okay, Shadow? I asked as I ended the hug.
Yes, I am more than okay. Come on, Dr. Denman is waiting for us and might get suspicious if we make her wait any longer.
Shadow said as he picked up the plushies and photo.
When they arrived back in the lab, they saw Dr. Denman with a journal in hand.
I see you found it. Well then, let's get back to your lab.
Shadow said in an upbeat tone that he hasn't quite used as strongly since before Maria's death. Then Dr. Denman looked at Shadow with a puzzled look on her face.
What's up with you, Shadow? Are you okay? What happened and what are those things in your arms?
Dr. Denman asked curiously as she walked over to them.
Let's just say I finally got the closure I needed for a long time. Chaos control!
Shadow said, and they teleported back to the lab on Earth.
Well, that was an interesting adventure, if I do say so myself.
Sonic said as he was playfully acting exhausted.
No kidding, Sonic.
Shadow said in agreement.
I'll have a guard escort you to your cell since you need someone to unlock and then lock the door again.
Dr. Denman said as she put the journal down and picked up the phone to call 2 guards to the lab to do just that.
Oh, and tomorrow I'm going to have you all demonstrate your powers for me, so it will be a little reunion.
Dr. Denman explained as they were escorted out.